Today I'm going to talk about the #1 secret why gold and silver are rising. It's a disappearing act that is so great that not even Chris Angel, David Blaine, or the great Harry Houdini could pull this off. You see, there's a lot of people in this world that don't even understand that this is just an illusion. This is only a paper representation of the digital idea that is money. So in other words, of all the so-called money in the system, about 98% of it is digital. It doesn't even exist as paper. So here's the big secret that bankers don't want you to understand, and why the #1 secret why gold and silver are soaring at the moment. Bankers set up the global monetary system basically to rob you, to bamboozle you, to deceive you, to lie to you, to steal from you. Imagine that this dollar bill represents your annual salary. Well, if you earn a decent salary in the United States, about 1/3 of your salary will come out in the form of Social Security taxes and federal income taxes. So you can snip away very quickly 1/3 of that salary, and this is what you're left with. Now, if you live in the most populous state in America, California, you're going to lose about 9.3% to the state income tax. So again, you can snip away this much. So nothing shocking there. Most people understand that concept, that this is what you're left with your annual salary. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Now, this is what you're left with, and this is what you need to live on. You need to pay all your expenses, your food, your entertainment, your travel for the year. And between 2000 and 2008, the central banks devalued the dollar so much that it lost about 50%. So if you actually held what's left of your salary, 100% of it in your savings account, well, within 8 years, 50% of that was gone. So basically, this is what you're left with. Okay, so now it looks like living just got a lot more difficult. So what about the future? Well, we all know about the currency wars that are going on right now. The Bank of Japan is deliberately intervening to devalue the yen even further, which is triggering all central banks in a race to the bottom in this currency war. So all central banks are now engaging in a war to destroy the valuation of their currencies. So if the US dollar lost 50% of its purchasing power between 2000 and 2008, with the unforeseen shocks that are going to be inevitable in the future, you could say that a 50% devaluation is not unreasonable. Say it could happen in 5 years, 4 years, maybe even 3 years with some shocks. So you need to snip away another 50%. And now this is what you're looking at as far as your annual salary just after, say, 11, 12, or 13 years. So remember this, the very large 1/3 part of your salary that came out in federal income taxes and Social Security taxes. Now, don't we get benefits from this, you ask? Well, not really. The Social Security tax, it's the program's an unfunded liability right now that is a huge Ponzi scheme. The government basically takes money from Jack to pay Jill. And furthermore, with the Social Security scheme, the payment schedule of benefits is such that most people will never actually receive all the money that the government took out of their paycheck before they die. And secondly, with the massive currency devaluation that is going on right now, you'll probably get dollars that are worth 50%, 40%, 30%, 10% of the dollars that you paid into the system. So you're definitely not getting the equivalent amount of purchasing power back from this program. Now, with the federal income tax, 100% of that goes to paying off debt on the national interest and transfer payments. So in 2008, we saw what the transfer payments were, as there was an $850 billion bailout, which basically just took money out of the American taxpayer pockets and gave them and deposited them right into the pockets of bankers. And as far as the interest on the national debt, that again is in essence a transfer payment that's coming straight out of our pockets and into the pockets of the wealthiest banking families in the country. In essence, this really is a part of your annual salary that you should be able to keep, and that would help us all out if we were able to keep this part. It should be really apparent why a lot of Americans are struggling out there, because you start with this, and then after 13 years, you're left trying to live off of this. And even if you double your salary, say, oh, I just, double my salary from $100,000 a year to $200,000, you would think, oh, that should double my quality of life. Not so, because you start again with this, And after 13 years, the fraudulent nature of this monetary system will leave you with this. The indignity on top of all this is that when you die, even though this is now left in your bank account, what will go to your kids and your children, if you are in the highest bracket of the estate tax, 50% of that, again, is taken by the government. So you're basically left with this. So from your lifespan, you go from this to this in 13 years, and this to this upon death. Now remember that this illustration, this reality for the most part, applies to you whether you own euros, pounds sterling, yuan, Australian dollars, and any other paper currency in the world. If we had a gold standard, history shows us that if we start with this, 20 years later, we will still have the purchasing power of this. So I hope I've been able to describe to you the biggest disappearing act in history in about 5 minutes. If you wish to keep up to date with other videos we may produce about this topic, please subscribe to our YouTube video. Thanks for watching.